Hello, and welcome to another episode of Two Chicks, One Show, the show where we break down one episode a week of a currently airing show. We've been taking a break from that format for the last few months, using the summer as a chance to go back in time about 20 years and for Kate, one of our two chicks, watch The X-Files for the first time ever. The show is my favorite show of all time, and I'm so excited to be able to go back and look at all these episodes in preparation for the brand new season starting in January, the first real trailer of which dropped this week, and I'm so excited. So last time we left off at the end of season 3 with a whole big showdown between Mulder and the alien bounty hunter, and this season we get to find out the end of that result, which is something to do with bees.
Yeah.
So Kate, season 4, I know you know this, but our viewers don't. Season 4 is my favorite season of all 9 of the X-Files. I love this season. There's so much great Scully stuff this season. So I'm curious as to your thoughts on season 4. Don't break my heart.
I liked season 4. I think season 3 and season 2 I liked a little bit better. But I'm watching them such fast pace. It's kind of hard for me to be like season 2 and then season 3 because I'm just like nah. Like this was, I try not to move on to the next season until after we do these little chats, but I broke my rule this time. I was like, I just have to watch the next one.
I can't believe you watched the beginning of season 5.
I know. It's just like, well, now I gotta watch it.
Oh, and there are things about the beginning of season 5 that we can't talk about yet, but I love the beginning of season 5.
But I only watched the first episode.
Okay.
About and we just gave her cancer.
Yeah, you were breaking up during that, so I'm not entirely certain what you said. I just heard something about give her cancer, so I think that's a decent segue into the cancer storyline, which is pretty much the big storyline of season 4.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you're a little scattered.
Yeah. Can you hear me better without the headphones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so what I said before was that season 4 changes where Scully's no longer being kidnapped and becoming the victim, but we decided let's just give her cancer.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I still really like the cancer storyline. It's different from the other storylines. It's not so much the rescuing. I mean, it's got a lot of character stuff for Scully in it, so I've always liked the cancer storyline. Memento Mori, which is the one where you actually find out that she has cancer, the one where she finds out she has cancer, is one of my favorites. Just because it's a lot of internal stuff for her, and all the monologues and the voiceovers and stuff are really good.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a deleted scene where in the hallway at the end when they hug, they actually kissed in the deleted scene, and they got rid of it because it was too soon.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I wouldn't be into that right now.
But I always really liked the cancer storyline. It did some interesting things for Scully. I mean, you had the Norman Betts, is that what it is? Leonard Betts. The Norman for some reason was in my head. You had the Leonard Betts storyline with the guy who can smell cancer and eats it because he's made of cancer, and he grows his head back and crap. I love that episode. I think it's one of the more quintessential X-Files episode with this just ridiculous human anomaly. But at the same time, it's the first indication that she has cancer.
Yeah.
With the whole
that's yeah, isn't that the second to last, or is that the second to last episode of season 3?
Season 3? No, that's in season 4. That's right before she finds out that she has cancer.
Oh yeah.
That's why she goes to the doctor to find out, because he says you have something I need, and she knows that he can smell cancer.
To eat it.
Right, he needs to survive. It's actually what makes him generate the cells that keep him alive, because he can regenerate body parts, his head.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing, the cancer storyline is huge this season, but I think there's several episodes that are dedicated to Cigarette Cancer Man.
Yeah, there's the first time I watched this season, the series through, I didn't like Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man,
Mm-hmm.
which is that episode that's all about his backstory and like how he got to where he is. And the second time I watched it, it's now one of my favorite episodes of the season because it's just so interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was a great episode. And then
I like that the episode is sort of the cigarette smoking man being like, Frohickey is my ultimate enemy right now.
Yeah. And then there's two like kind of like inside the mind of Cigarette Smoking Man. Isn't there? There's one where like we find out that he wants to be like a writer and he thinks he's getting published and he's about to quit. I thought that was great. That was like one of my favorite things that happened, was like he like really wants to be a fiction writer and like he finally gets published and he's like signing his resignation letter, and then all of a sudden like he realizes the magazine that he's published in isn't great. So he's like, oh, I guess I'll keep doing this secret stuff.
Yeah, I love Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. I love the whole idea of him being, being like an actual person.
Yeah.
Which I think was great to like humanize this big villain who is just so easy to hate. Mm-hmm. And instead they made him like a person who has dreams of becoming a novelist.
Yeah.
But he keeps getting rejected. It was such a normal thing for him to be doing, and it was fun to finally like, I mean, we're 4 seasons in and the villain really doesn't have a lot of dimension to him.
No.
But at the same time, he's not the only villain. Like the shadowy government is really more the villain. The cigarette smoking man is just sort of the face.
Yeah, like I feel like Cigarette Man was like given an offer he couldn't refuse, and like now he's just like way too deep into everything that he's done in the past, like kill JFK and Martin Luther King, and who else did he kill?
Yeah, the fact that he assassinated everyone.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He probably assassinated John Lennon, and we didn't know. Yeah, it wasn't really the guy that read chapter 26 of Get Joe the Rye. It was Cigarette Smoking Man.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I do love the cigarette smoking man as a villain, and it was nice to get him humanized and to really like start to sort of feel for him a little bit. But at the end of the day, he's still the big bad. I do like that he chooses not to kill Frohickey at the end. Like he makes a decision.
But then like he does that cool thing. He's like, I can get you anytime I want.
Yeah, he quotes that from the novel.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I like too, and so that whole episode is great. The first time I watched it, I was just so bored because I wanted to get right back into it.
See, I liked it because I'm like one of those like I like history kind of things.
Yeah.
So, oh my god. So I really enjoyed that episode.
I like that one too. We also got a lot more of the mythology of like the black oil. Yeah. With when Mulder and Krychek go to Russia for Tunguska. And Terma.
Yeah.
And that was also it was nice to see them sort of like being at each other and to see that there's a history between Krychek and Marita,
mm-hmm.
who is Mulder's new confidant, sort of.
Yeah.
After Mr. X died.
Mm-hmm.
I like that she doesn't really want to be it because she's like, those people have a history of getting killed.
It's true. I mean, valid point. I don't like the what is black? What do we call it?
The black oil.
The black oil is like interesting. I think the bees are a lot cooler.
You like the idea of them using the bees?
Yeah, I'm like the black oil I get is like from outer space, but I think like this idea that the government has taken these bees and infected them with smallpox to like do like pretty much aerial attacks on. I think that's just like so many different levels of conspiracy and like not trusting the government and all that kind of stuff that I find it just a little bit more interesting than like something that just like.
I agree with you. I the thing I like about the black oil is that it's essentially like a sentient thing that you don't think is threatening.
Yeah.
Like, the most terrifying alien in this show isn't the alien bounty hunter who's big and scary and stabs you in the neck. It's this oil that you can't do anything about, because it just takes over and kills you and makes you do things before that happens. I agree with you though about the bees, about them being this sort of almost innocuous thing that the government is using to do really terrible things, and they continue that thread in future episodes, future seasons. And I'm kind of hoping they bring it back for the new series.
I don't know if the bee situation was ever made available to the public, so I can't say if I want it in the future series.
Yeah,
you just might have spoiled something.
I didn't spoil anything. I want that, or I want something similar, something that's like a creative way the government is doing something ridiculous.
Because you spoiled.
I didn't spoil anything. No, I spoiled nothing. I like the bees. They come up later. I like them.
And they're never resolved.
And I don't think they're ever resolved. I honestly, at this point, I don't remember if they're ever resolved. Because now you're making me think about it, and now I'm like, I don't know if they were ever resolved. I just know that they come up later, and they come up in some really good storylines. And I like them, and I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you. Accept it.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm trying to look at the episode list to remember like some of the stuff that I wanted to bring up. We get a little more into the Mulder's sister. I mean, in the very first episode, we see a weird cloned version. We'd already met clones of his sister, alien clones.
But grown-up versions.
But grown-up versions. Now we meet little kid versions.
Which he can actually identify, because he doesn't really know what his sister would look like as a 20, 30-some-odd-year-old woman.
Right.
But was, 8-year-old Samantha. I believe she was 8.
Yeah, she was 8. And so seeing clone Samantha was weird, but then we also got Paper Hearts, which is a great, I think, episode, a great Mulder episode. What? I
liked that episode a lot.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. It's just Mulder dealing with his sister. And dealing with his sister, the possibility that she wasn't abducted.
Yeah.
By aliens.
Mm-hmm.
But instead by a serial killer who just is out to murder children. And one that he's faced.
Yeah.
And put away in the past. And I like Mulder dealing with his sister and all that on a level of reality, whereas the whole alien abduction thing is very much like his escape.
Yeah. I mean, I think for Mulder it's more he can justify her being abducted by aliens more than like actually just being kidnapped or something happened, because if it was aliens, then it was a little bit more out of his control.
Yeah. And if it was aliens, there's a chance that she's still alive.
Yeah.
Whereas if she was kidnapped as a child, she's probably dead.
Yeah. Paper Hearts also kind of reminded me of like a Criminal Minds episode.
Yeah, I agree with you. It does. In any episode where they deal with a serial killer tends to come out that way. Mm. There's another episode in season 7 I think you'll feel the same way about. And I agree with you. Yeah, it definitely has that sort of feel to it. That idea that, all these things conspired around the same time, mm-hmm. that she was abducted, to actually have him believing that this is what happened. And then, of course, he goes through all that stuff and finds out that the killer is, in fact, lying.
Yeah. I mean, there's several times this season where I was like, oh my God, was she abducted? Like, was she kidnapped? Like, in that episode. And then later on, I'm like, oh my God, was Cigarette Man really his dad? Like, that kind of stuff. I'm like, are we going to learn something? And we mm-hmm. never really do. But mm-hmm. I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. And Max Fennig comes back, sort of the whole thing of him and things like that. But so those are like the mythology episodes. I felt like there was a lot of mythology. There was a lot of mythology, or there was a lot of long thread lines. Like there's the mythology thread line. There's also the Scully's cancer thread line that goes through the season. Mm-hmm. But there's also, as with any season, I think the best episodes are the standalones, the things like Paper Hearts, like Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious as to what your favorite and or least favorite standalone episode of the season was.
Let's see. I wasn't a fan of like the last couple. Like,
you don't like demons?
No, I mean like before the to be continued 2-part season finale.
Right.
Oh my God! If I'm so many to be continues in this series. I mean, Small Potatoes stupid. I'm sorry. I did not like
I thought Small Potatoes was funny. It was supposed to be kind of stupid, I think. So I like it, but I also am just a hardcore Mulder Scully shipper, and the fact that the guy who is a total loser and shifts himself into looking like Mulder manages to get further with Scully than actual Mulder.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's still, like, I just didn't like it.
And also the woman who thinks that her baby's father is Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, that was the best part of that episode.
He's a Jedi.
I know you didn't like it, but I liked it a lot. I liked the field where we died because I'm, like, hopeless romantic, and I thought it was just, like, I thought it was, like, whimsical and interesting, and it made both Scully and Mulder vulnerable. And, like, this idea of past, I thought it was cool.
I don't disagree with you. I don't know why I don't like that. I've just never liked it, and I don't understand. I honestly can't tell you exactly why. I think part of it has to do with my horrible shipper brain not being able to accept the idea of Mulder not being with Scully in a past life.
I mean, we don't know. He could have been.
He could have been, but not in the past lives that Melissa remembers.
Yeah, not the past lives that Mulder was able to identify right there. But I mean, I think it's interesting that all of these people have been connected throughout history in a way.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you there. I like that there's a past life in which Scully is Mulder's father.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was fun.
And then what was the Nazi one?
The Nazi one.
When she was like they were about to go, they were like in Poland or something while it was being invaded.
I don't remember that one exactly.
I think that's the one where she was his father.
That might have been the one where she was his father.
But
yeah, I do like elements of the episode. I like the idea of a past life episode where they're exploring their past lives and the fact that they have them and that they cross so much, and that this woman doesn't have dissociative personality disorder. She has all of her past lives stuck inside her.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they were not necessarily the same gender.
Mm-hmm.
In their past lives. So there are ones where Mulder is female and Melissa is a male and they're together, or Scully is his father at one point. I like that too, the idea that souls sort of transcend that designation. Yeah. So like I said, there are elements of the episode that I like. I've just never been a big fan of the episode. In a season that I really like, it's just I've never loved it. I do like Unroar.
I'm trying to find it.
It's the one where Scully gets kidnapped.
Which one?
The one with the guy who gives them twilight sleep with the crazy pictures. Episode 4.
Oh, yeah. I didn't like that one.
I know you probably didn't like it because it was another Scully gets kidnapped episode. I liked it because it is a Scully gets kidnapped episode, but it's also a she talks down her captor sort of thing. And I liked the pictures. I liked how the photos did the thing. And that's up there as one of the episodes I really like. Also up there is I really like Never Again.
I was gonna say I like that one.
Yeah, because it's Scully outside herself. Like it's her doing things that she never would have done.
I know, but it also like it made me think, I'm just like, they have no lives.
No.
Like every time I watch an episode, I always feel like it can't really be like this in the FBI. Like people in the FBI, most of them live normal lives. But why is everyone in the show like so absorbed in everything else but what's happening with themselves? Like it's even a pain for Scully to go to the hospital. Like the girl has cancer and she's still like.
Yeah, they definitely don't have lives. But they're also the kind of people who wouldn't. I mean, Mulder is obsessed with the X-Files. Scully just doesn't have a life.
I get Mulder not having a life. Like, he doesn't even have a bed. And that was a funny part of when that guy from Small Potatoes that even is like a to be continued, because he goes back and he goes, this guy's a loser, doesn't even have a bed. Where am I supposed to sleep? And then he's like, his friends are even nerds because like the lone gunmen are calling him. But like, yeah. And then Mulder's calling like sex hotline.
Oh, Mulder and his porn obsession. is hilarious, and you know, especially given David Duchovny's sex addiction, quite telling.
I mean, write what you know.
Right, I guess. Yeah, no, I love Mulder's lack of life because it's funny and sad at the same time. Like he doesn't even try. Scully, I don't think tries a lot either, but
She did though. Like in the first season, like I remember I forget what episode it
it was
was.
Jersey Devil when she goes on the date.
Not it's not even that like she goes on the date, but she goes home. She goes back home because it's like her godson's birthday party.
Yeah, that was the also in Jersey Devil.
Yeah, and that's where she met the guy and went on the date. So like she was trying, and now I think once her sister died, she's just like, F it.
Yeah, I would agree that like they definitely. I also think there's a little bit of the writing. They just didn't know what to do with them at home because it's this whole, you know, immersive. I also think the longer she stays on the X-Files, the more she gets sucked into Mulder's obsessions.
Yeah.
So you know, it follows that you know she would end up investigating things that she wouldn't normally have done. I mean, but Never Again is, and I never know exactly how to approach that episode because, like, in your opinion, why does she make these terrible decisions while she's on this trip?
I think it's hard because in some levels it could be seen as sexist.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it a little sexist that like, oh, she's mad at Mulder because he's like asserting authority over her. So now she's going to go out and be rebellious. It's kind of like when you're grounded, but you still sneak out of your house. So it's
Yeah,
like
and
he was on vacation to Graceland, which I thought was great.
that was great.
And he's like, okay, well, I'm gone. Here's a bunch of shit that you need to do for me. And I think the point that she doesn't even have a desk after 4 years is valid.
Oh yeah. And I think it's a lot of stuff like coming to a head in this season,
Mm-hmm.
with her and Mulder, and the fact that he's in charge of the X-Files. He doesn't really think about her.
No, he just
Except when she's in trouble.
it. And I think it even gets a little bit more tense towards the end of the season where she starts to believe this conspiracy that like everything was executed to affect Mulder.
Mm-hmm.
Like her cancer was given to her to affect Mulder. Her sister being killed was an effect to make her closer to Mulder. Like everything's kind of about Mulder, and I can get why she could be a little angry at him and want to not necessarily listen to everything he says. And nowhere does it say that Mulder's her superior. They're
I mean, it's weird because technically she's working for Mulder because he runs the X-Files, but she was placed there to oversee him and report back. So there's a level of mistrust there, mistrust, whichever one it is, in that, you know, she's supposed to be reporting back on his actions, but they've sort of grown to trust each other. And yeah, there's never really a strong indication of whether or not he's actually in charge, but he's definitely the one making all the decisions. He's the one picking the cases and telling them what they're going to do and where they're going to go. But what I was going to say is that this episode also falls very specifically between Leonard Betts and Memento Mori.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also that possibility that in Never Again, she knows she has cancer.
I mean, I think by the end of Leonard Betts, she has a feeling. I mean, I think she had an inkling that this could happen because she met those women last season that all had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he said that to her, I think it was just kind of, you know, nail in the coffin. Well, no pun intended for that one. For Scully. So I think she did want to just like, I think she was just like pissed off. But like that's not even, I think I liked it because it was a Scully episode. I think just the idea that this guy got a tattoo by some like dude that used this crazy ink, and then I thought the tattoo thing was cool.
Yeah, I thought a lot of elements of the episode, the idea that the tattoo was made with rye, which is actually something they'll use in inks, and that gave them ergot poisoning, and that it made you kind of lose your mind. And actually, one of the things I liked the most was the fact that they got Jodie Foster to play the voice of the tattoo.
Yeah.
Because she was perfect. And there's just here's some stupid X-Files trivia for you. Before the X-Files, Gillian Anderson was possibly going to play Clarice in Silence of the Lambs, and then Jodie Foster ended up doing it. So they knew each other, and they are kind of friends.
I agree that presently Anderson is the wife of Hannibal.
Hannibal
series.
Which is now canceled.
Which, yeah, but I mean.
Right, but she was.
Was she nominated for she might have been nominated for an Emmy.
Not this season.
For guest.
Oh, maybe for guest, because they did the guest stars at the Creative Arts Emmys. That's possible. We didn't do the Creative Arts Emmys, but I did get to win the Battle of the Golden Statues again this year. We won't talk about that because I don't need to gloat. But it was, so Never Again is a great episode. It's a great episode on its own because it's just a lot of really good Scully stuff. Just her sort of like not being the perfect person.
Yeah.
She sort of always is. Like, she's, the steadfast and never has these kinds of issues. And it was nice to see her sort of go off the rails. But then at the end, you sort of want to punch Mulder in the face because he's still really dismissive.
Yeah.
He's sort of like disappointed in her for doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it's I liked the episode, but it's also hard for me to say that I really enjoyed it because I did just see a lot of like sexist undertones in it.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying they weren't there.
Yeah.
Zero Sum was an interesting dudes protecting Scully episode. That was
that
was
the one with the bees.
Yeah, that was the other one with the bees, where they actually are killing people. And Skinner is covering it up in order to save Scully's life.
Yeah. I kind of liked the ghost one.
The elegy?
Yeah.
I'm back and forth on that one. I was never a huge fan of that one. I don't know why. I just wasn't.
I mean, it was enjoyable. I wouldn't say it's like my fave.
Oh, it's definitely not my fave. I would never say that favorite. We're gonna use the whole word here. But so there are a lot of. I think this is the season where there are just a lot of really good episodes, which is why the season's my favorite on the whole.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I really disliked any of them per se.
Yeah. Well, there is one that I think almost no one really likes, and that was El Mundo Gira. Just the Chupacabra episode.
Oh yeah.
No one likes that one. It's no Teso dos Bichos, but it's a.
I also didn't like Home. That was creepy.
No, Home is such a good episode, but it's one of the ones you never want to watch.
Yeah, I'm just like, ugh.
That was the one where you texted me something along the lines of, "Oh my God, this is disgusting," and I asked, "Did you get to the dead baby?"
Yeah, and I didn't even get to that part yet. I was already
beginning. The very first thing is the dead, deformed baby, and then like that episode always creeps everyone out. And it's just because it's just so visceral. Just everything about it being like it isn't supernatural. It's just people being.
I'm pretty sure there probably is a family like that somewhere.
Probably in Pennsylvania.
Probably because anything west of Valley Forge is scary.
I've nearly broken down west of Valley Forge. It is scary.
It's scary.
All out in Amish country, we almost ran out of gas, and we pulled off the road into a place where we thought there was a gas station, and we pulled into the gas station. Gas station was out of service, but right next door was a horseshoe place that was working.
Yeah.
So we were pretty sure we were going to get murdered by Amish people.
I mean, that's legit.
And I think actually, I don't know if I've rewatched Home since living in Philadelphia, but I think that I would probably be more freaked out by it at this point. But
I don't think there's people like that in Philadelphia.
No, but I mean, living in Philadelphia and being able to go west of that area, easily. I haven't been west of Valley Forge since I lived there.
Well, consider yourself lucky. I mean, the only thing that you could possibly want to see is Hershey, and it's like,
Yeah, it just smells like chocolate, though.
Yeah.
No, but I like that episode. Like, what?
You even get a free chocolate bar when you go to the park. You get like a kiss.
Yeah, I went to Hershey Park when I was like 14 with my Girl Scout troop, so that's all I remember is what?
What's a drive?
Yeah, we went for they were having like the Girl Scout jamboree at Hershey Park. So
oh, that's cute.
It's adorable. We were totally in the 8th grade. Anyway, so home, getting from Girl Scouts back to deformed people who sleep with their mothers. I think Home is just it's just such a well done episode because it affects people in ways that other episodes don't. Like, it affects them in a disgusting, grotesque kind of way.
Sure.
But it's the same thing for me, and like I can never watch Black Swan again, even though it's an amazing movie. Because it cuts me to my soul.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But I love and hate that episode at the same time. It was the episode I think they showed after the Super Bowl that year.
Oh God.
Yeah, they switched the order of that episode and another one so they could show it after the Super Bowl, and then because it was late enough.
Oh.
It was like midnight or 1:00 in the morning, so it was late enough where kids wouldn't be awake. Sure. And then so they aired it that one time, and then Fox banned it from ever being aired again.
For good reason.
So it's never allowed to be re-aired.
I wish I never watched it.
It's disgusting. My stepmom, who was actually an X-Files fan when the show was on originally, I didn't get into it until years later. But when I started watching it, she was like, there's only one episode I can remember, and it has something to do with the mother in a box under the bed. And I finally got to the episode, and I was like, I can understand why this is the only episode you remember.
Yeah.
But I love that it's episode 2.
I know. I was like, they didn't even ease you into that. I was just
nope. It was just, we're going to drop you right into it, and also Scully's going to make a weird Babe reference. Although she does babysit her nephew in that episode. She talks about babysitting her nephew over the weekends.
Wow.
She watches Babe 18 times a day.
Whose nephew is it?
It's her nephew. She's got 3 siblings.
Oh, we've only met the 2. Okay.
She's got an older brother. It's her older brother, Melissa, who's now dead, her, and then her younger brother.
Learn something new.
Yeah, you do, just by listening to me.
Yeah. So should we talk about the 2-part finale, which actually was more like a 5-part finale because it just keeps going into a to be continued situation.
It does. Yeah, we can talk. I was gonna say we should start wrapping it up. Talk about the end of the season. So, I love Demons. I think it's a really good Mulder episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one where you start realizing that there's a connection between cigarette smoking man and his family from years and years ago, and also his sister and possibly her abduction.
But we already kind of had an idea of that.
Yeah, but you actually get to see more stuff.
Yeah.
It's sort of Mulder sort of getting into almost basically a drug-induced state where he remembers.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. It's the closest we'll ever get seeing Mulder in a Speedo again.
He was in a tub naked, so
when he's in the tub and Scully comes in.
He might be having a mental breakdown, but who cares?
But he's doing it without his shirt on.
Yeah, he's doing it naked. Okay.
You don't see anything below the waist. Yes. No, I like that episode. It's also Scully sort of has to help Mulder episode, which is nice for those of us who are sick of him saving her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So it's really high drama. It's really good character stuff for Mulder. So I really like that one. But we get to the end of Demons and then we get launched right into Gethsemane, which is the finale.
Yes. And it's a kind of, it's Aaron Sorkin style, right?
Yeah, it's all told, framed around this inquiry that Scully is in, and she's telling the story of what has happened, what has transpired over the last however long.
Yeah.
And it's Mulder gets in contact with this Canadian team or something.
Like this anthropologist from American University that's like friends with Mulder, and they like Mulder has a very odd collection of acquaintances.
Yes.
And they like both believe in aliens. So he contacts some guy that was on a dig in Canada. They find like this perfect ice-contained body that looked like an alien. So the guy from American University goes there, he checks it out, and then the first person he calls is Mulder.
Of course.
So,
first person I'd call.
Yeah. So of course Mulder has to go see the alien, and then at this point, Scully and Mulder have a little bit of a tense relationship where Scully's just like, oh, no, I'm not going to Canada to like see this so-called alien in ice. He's like, oh, I'm not asking you to go. I'm just asking you to look at, and like, what? Is Scully just a scientist that knows everything?
Yeah.
Like, how did you go from being a doctor to also being able to examine ice?
Well, I mean, to a degree, like she did have to take, she has her undergraduate degree in physics.
Okay.
And then she has her medical degree. So, I mean, she knows chemistry. She knows how to do
I mean, it's just like anytime anything scientific has to happen, like Scully can do it.
She knows how to use a mass spec, basically.
Yeah. So she goes to this lab to find out pretty much like how old the ice is.
Mm-hmm.
So they find out that the ice is pretty old, but then there's like I don't know how do you describe like is it an atom or a gene within the ice that is able to like rebirth itself, but it's nothing that this one scientist has ever seen. So
it would have to be cellular material.
Yeah. So Scully's like, this is probably my cancer. Like a bunch of like blood work.
I want you to run this against me.
Yeah. And the guy's like, I can't do that. I have lunch or something like ridiculous like that. She goes, I'll do it myself yet again. Scully just does blood work by herself. Whereas Mulder goes to Canada and finds out that everyone that found this body has been shot to death.
Mm-hmm.
But they get the body out, and then I'm not really sure. I guess it was just a hoax.
Scully, over the course of Scully's testing, she manages to discover that the body was planted there, and they did all this stuff to fake the whole thing, and that essentially she figures out that it is connected to her cancer. So it has something to do with what's happened to her, but it is entirely terrestrial. Yeah. And at that point, that's sort of when their dynamic flips. Mm-hmm. And Scully is 100% down with the government conspiracy theory. Yeah. And Mulder is completely broken and doesn't believe anything anymore.
And this is where Scully meets the guy from the DOD, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he pretty much is like, I don't know why this guy just tells her everything.
He's just like, bleh. You actually do learn more in the season 5 premiere.
Yeah, so that's why I don't want to, I'm a little confused of what happens now. Because I literally watched them right one after the other.
Yeah, so you got into the 5th season then.
Yeah.
Well, season 4 ends with Scully essentially saying, like, it ends because the season 4 finale, Gethsemane, and then Redux 1 and 2 are basically one story told over 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Extremely long, and especially Redux 1.
Season 4 finale ends with
Scully saying Mulder died this morning from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
Which makes you think that the guy that was killing people from the hoax ended up killing Mulder.
Possibly.
Right? I think that was, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what's happened. At the end of season 4, Mulder is dead.
Yeah. But I feel like almost every season ends with you thinking that Mulder might be dead.
Kind of, or that he's about to be dead. Like, season 2 ends with the whole explosion on the train.
Yeah.
Him getting buried. And actually, he's basically dead when the Blessing Way starts. And then, season 2 ends with season 3 ends with the standoff. And you think, oh crap, someone's getting shot.
How did season 1 end?
Season 1 ends with the X-Files being shut down.
Oh yeah, so that's like the only time where it's like, oh, they're all still alive.
Yeah, there's no like crazy cliffhanger because I don't think they knew whether or not they were going to get picked up.
Yeah.
And I don't know how early they found out for the other seasons because I was not aware of what was going on in 1997. I was too busy being 8. But yeah, so this season ends with a big cliffhanger. And but this is also the first time, well, not the first time, but this is the first time where the parts have been so interconnected, where if you've seen all 3 parts, it's really difficult to remember which one goes where.
I mean, I've only saw the first 2, and I'm always like, oh, wait, what?
Yeah, and the first 2, Gethsemane and then Redux 1, are extremely close. They're basically the same story.
Yeah, I mean, it starts off exactly the same way.
Yeah, in the exact same way. It's Redux 2 that you can sort of separate out because of some of the things that happen. But we will talk about that next time on Two Chicks, One Show when we recap season 5 of The X-Files. So, as always, we want to know what you guys thought. Did you watch season 4? If you're following along with the 201 days of The X-Files, they're about halfway through season 4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're following along with that, let us know what you think of the episodes as you watch them in the comments. Let us know what your favorite episode is, what your least favorite episode is, whether you think home was giving you nightmares. I'm really curious because I always like to see people's reactions when they finally watch that episode because it's terrifying. And what you think is going to happen in the future. Do not leave spoilers because Kait has not seen the rest of the show. And we are trying to keep her as unspoiled as possible, except when I sometimes talk
know about
bees
now.
Yeah, bees are important. Okay, fine. I'm sorry, minor spoiler, not a big deal. There are many other things I could have said out loud that I did not.
Yeah.
So if you like season 4, let us know. If you didn't like season 4, let us know what your favorite season is, and we will see you next time on Two Chicks, One Show. You can follow us. I am at Tricia Ennis. She is at Kait Calabro. # Two Chicks, One Show to let us know what you thought of the episode, what you thought of any of our other episodes. We will be back to weekly episodes next year when we talk about Outlander. And possibly the new season of the X-Files. We'll keep you posted. But for now,
Agent Carter.
And Agent Carter. Oh my god, I almost forgot. Agent Carter season 2.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Agent Carter, then Outlander.
Agent Carter, then Outlander, and the X-Files is somewhere in January. We'll be back with season 5 before you know it. Kait, stop making that face. No one can see you. This wrap up is taking way too long. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. Get all your news on allgeektome.net and watch out for us at the Geeky Awards in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye. Oh my God. Bye.